Theo,
Hey, what's up?
man, we finally have a real exciting card to talk about. I've been shot out of a cannon all night. I've been fucking fired up about this card and how boxing is just eating shit. Compared to sports, I'm like, boxing needs to be burned to the ground and brought back up from its soul. You look at how professional the UFC's run. You
Right.
could fighter pay and all that, but they actually have a backup of Volkanovski for this fight. Like
Yeah,
he's
that
ready.
is right because the main event here is huge, and
Yeah,
you can argue if one of them were to fall out, the fight's probably even bigger now. You know,
correct. Like Volkanovski is bigger than Errol Spence in boxing. He's a bigger, better, considered to be top 4 or 5 fighter regardless of weight class, right? Isn't he? He's up there. And
there's people calling him now the Kamaru lost. That he's the number one fighter in the world.
yeah, so that's your backup. That's there to make weight. That's how people who talk shit about Dana White. I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Dana White is the GOAT. Period. He's the Michael Jordan of combat sports. Period. There have been a lot of people before him that have tried and failed. There have been a lot of people during the Dana White tenure who have tried and failed. And Dana White's still out here just crushing it. Now, you can be pissed off about he doesn't pay as much and nobody's perfect. Who knows what the financials are? But my God, has he put together? He took female MMA fighting. I think his first signing was she was a huge star. Ronda Rousey. That was the first signing from female UFC MMA.
He's the biggest athlete on the planet for a while.
Biggest athlete on the planet. And I had a debate with somebody who clearly doesn't know anything about this, but they're like, Ronda Rousey, she's bullshit. She sucked. I'm like, she was 12-0 with 12 finishes, and she had 5 title fights. Like, that is, you put 5 title fights at any level. I mean, Ali had more, Tyson had more. There are people with more, but 12-0 with 5 title fights with 12 finishes, that is not overrated. That's a bad motherfucker right there.
I like to compare Ronda, especially early women's MMA, because if you look at a lot of the females now, they're just so well-rounded and really, really good at everything. They're not just good at one thing, and the girls who are only good at one thing, like Mackenzie Dern, for one example, they get exposed. Like in that last fight she got exposed on the feet and got boxed up all fight. And in early women's MMA, I feel like Ronda was so good at what she did. It was unstoppable until she started running. She ran into Holly and then ran into Amanda, who were very well known.
They're Hall of Famers. I mean, both of them are Hall of Famers.
Right.
Amanda Nunes is probably the greatest female fighter in history, period. Like that case. Holly Holm is a Hall of Famer. So she just happened to run into, after 12 straight victories, she had to happen to run into 2, legends in the sport in their own right, and probably was like, oh my God, my reign's over. My confidence is gone. In the meantime, it's like that story of that guy whose first 2 UFC fights were against Chuck Liddell, and the guy, oh shit, I can't wore the chain around his neck. I can't remember.
Rampage Jackson.
His first 2 MMA fights are against Liddell and Jackson, and he's probably pretty damn good. And after that, he's like, I suck. Like, what?
This stuff happened because there's that saying that every now and again you're gonna hit that wall. You're gonna meet that. You're gonna run into that guy and hit that wall. He just so happened to hit it back to back, and not a lot of guys get that often.
2 Hall of Famers back to back. Well, she got hit with 2 Hall of Famers back to back after being at the top.
She got hit with a peak Holly Holm, and then Amanda when she went on her tirade and just was washing everyone.
Before people knew what Amanda really was. Like, so she, the hype wasn't there on Nunes yet. And when she met her, I mean, she walked into a dragon's lair. Women's MMA now is a mega sport, and it's probably the fastest growing genre of a sport because MMA is, growing faster than pretty much anything else except maybe pickleball,
Right.
which came from nothing, But female MMA is now, again, Dana White did that. Like he made that people actually give a shit. Now they're headliners.
And you can look at other promotions that did have women's MMA, like Strikeforce was the one that kind of started it, but it was never as big until it came to the big promotion. And that was the thing. But once he got Ronda too, once he got a hold of Ronda, he blew it up. And now look at it. Like you said, he's got females headlining cards and stuff. He can put Valentina in a headline in any card, and she'd arguably sell better than a lot of guy fights would.
Yeah, I love watching her. Should be the next James Bond, female James Bond in real life. She's such a badass.
She's the closest thing we're gonna have to it for sure.
Well, let me ask you, because these girls, you train with them. How do you, when you talk to these girls, how is it for them to date in real life? With how do guys react to dating female fighters? Do you have any insights on that at all?
Well, so coming from someone who has dated a girl who did train to fight, she never fought.
Yeah.
Being in the setting around other females, I've found that most of these girls date people with similar interests, because what I found is, to be a female in a fighting sport, you need to have a different type of mentality, because the societal thing is girls shouldn't be doing that. We're starting to get away from that, and a lot of girls are starting to do this, but they have to have a different mindset. Like, a lot of people say fighters are wired different. Female fighters are wired really different.
Yeah.
I found they end up needing to have someone with similar interest, aka another fighter, to push them along to their goal. You don't see a lot of female fighters out there doing it by themselves. A lot of them do have a partner or guidance, are in relationships with a person who was once a training partner. Maybe they were a coach to them, something along those lines. It's very rare that I've seen in the circle girls dating outside of their training circle.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but it would be real interesting to find like a guy who's, a vegan chef. And this is my girlfriend. She's 12-1 and knocks and chokes girls for a living. She goes in and violently attacks or defends herself as a main partner. I would love to see that relationship, is somebody who's completely out of that loop with the female as a super alpha inherently, as the killer in the relationship. I haven't seen it, but I know it's out there. And I just, if you ever find it, please let me know. I need to talk to those.
A lot of guys can't take that either. They can't take that they're not the
super alpha.
The girl's going to be the one standing up for him. That'll fuck with a guy's head back. I mean, and because I've been around training with guys, and they can't even take. I've had females instruct me and teach me stuff before, and I'm open to it. Look, if you can teach me how to be better at something, I don't care who you are. Yeah. But I've trained with guys, and they won't even look towards a female in training to give them advice or anything. And it's like I think that's just a messes with some persona they try to keep, but who knows?
I think women in a lot of ways are, first of all, can you imagine having a date like a Valentina? She's such an alpha. She shoots. She's a badass across the board, but dating her, can you imagine who's going to end up marrying her? It either has to be
I was about to say, you're going to have to get like a
super bitch or like Batman. You know what I mean? Like, there's no in between.
Look at what happened with look who ended up having to marry Ronda Rousey, freaking Travis Brown. He was a monster heavyweight for a little while, and it's like that. It took that guy to be her man. But I've quick story. So I think I've mentioned this. I used to train in Quebec, and I lived in Quebec for a little bit, and I was living in Quebec with another girl, and we were in a relationship, and we met through training. So one thing, I don't know if it was that she trained too, or that she was Canadian, and I'm talking off the boat French, Eric, like thick accent. I mean, spoke pure French, and
It's
had the
in French, and I want to say this to all my French people out there. It's not real French. It's dirty French, but yes,
yes.
it's
And
disgusting.
that's how she explained it to us. It's like it's like slang French.
Correct. Yes, my wife is French. She's just every time she hears a French person talking, she's like, "Oh no, oh no." I love that the French are so snotty about that too. They're like, "Oh, make it stop, make it stop." But yes, I'm with you. Go ahead, continue. I didn't mean to disparage
No,
her.
she
Hopefully, your current one's listening so that she likes me a little bit more as a result of that.
this girl, our relationship ended because she was too feisty and put her hands on me. I mean, and what do you let me lay out a situation. We were near the end of a separation, and basically I was leaving. I was packing my stuff out of our apartment, and I was leaving, and I had bought a cat. I'm a cat guy, you know this.
Yep.
And I was gonna take the cat too. And I said, "Where's Oliver?" When I got there, and she said, "Oh, I gave him away. I'm a bad mom." I'm like, "Okay, listen, I'm not trying to play this game. I'm gonna go take a piss, and I would like to get the cat and go. Like, I already got my shit packed. I'd like to go." So I go take a piss. I walk out of the bathroom, and I have my keychain hanging out of my right pocket, and I feel it getting tugged, and I put my hands on my pocket, and she like hooks me twice in the face. Now me, fighter mentality, think on the fly. I'm thinking on the fly. So I grab my keys and I run. I run across the table, and I'm like this, like looking around the kitchen table, like, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
And she starts losing her mind. She's screaming at me like, "Get the fuck out of the apartment. You're gonna come in here and take my cat." And she's all like, "Give me the fucking apartment key." And she's losing her mind. And I hear people in the complex like walking around above us. And I'm like, uh-oh. So in my head, I'm in a different country. This girl's freaking out. She just hit me. What cop's gonna care that a female attacked me? If I can't put my hands on her, I'd destroy her. Like,
even if you hold their hands, you're going to jail. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to know what I did?
Run.
The second I ran. The second she came around the table, I sprinted right the hell out of the
Fucking
apartment.
Brilliant. That's the smartest thing you can do.
Locked myself in my car. She's banging on the window, and I call the cop. And the dispatcher picks up. This is a totally true story. You can ask. Like, I have receipts.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. This sounds. And by the way, brilliantly played. For all those guys out there, they're like, "You should have told that." No. You run. Get the fuck out of it.
It gets even better.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the car, and I'm looking at her. I'm like, I'm calling the cops because I didn't load up all my stuff at this point. She's going ballistic. So I called the police. They answer in French. The town we were in was Saint Jean sur Richelieu, and it's about 20 minutes south of Montreal. So it's
sounds lovely. Really does.
Beautiful place. Montreal's a shithole, but Saint Jean was beautiful. The dispatcher answers in French, and I'm like, "Do you speak English, sir?" And he's like, "Yes, speak English." She's like, "What's your emergency?" And I said, "I'm trying to get my belongings from an ex-girlfriend, and she just started punching me, and she's attacking me." You want to know what he tells me? "Sir, listen, we have a lot of crime going on in the city tonight. We don't have time. We can't waste time on calls like this." And I'm all like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" Like, the guy literally, if the roles were reversed, if a girl called and said, "My boyfriend's beating me up," send over some squad cars. Yeah. So then I said, "Well, sir, like, she doesn't believe I'm calling the cops. Can you at least tell her to chill out? Let me grab my stuff." So I walk up on speakerphone. I'm like, "I have a dispatcher on the phone. I'm gonna grab my stuff." And he's like, "Miss, can you hear me?" And he's like, "Does she speak French or English?" I'm like, "Both."
Yeah.
So he starts talking in French.
So now you have no clue what the fuck's going on.
Now I have no clue what they're saying. But she starts yelling in French and gets pissed off. And then she screams like, she starts, this was a very interesting line. She said, "He's a fucking purple belt. He should be able to defend himself." And she's like losing her mind. And the officer said, the guy on the phone is like, sir, can you hear me?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Listen, go wait in your car," because she was like losing her mind, screaming. And I'm sure you picked that up in her voice.
That helps your case. Yeah, that helps you.
And he's like, "Go sit in your car, and I'm going to send over some officers." wait in my car for like an hour and a half. She ends up leaving. They get there. They ask me. They're like taking a police report down. I'm like, listen, like I just came to pick up my stuff and my cat. She started putting her hands on me. They're like, well, we're gonna take your word because she incriminated herself by leaving. It looks like little did I know she had taken all my stuff and just whipped it in the backyard of the apartment.
Okay.
So I didn't realize that my stuff was in the backyard. So when the cops got there, I'm like, oh, look, it's all over the yard. So I pretty much just was like, well, what do you guys think I should do? And they're like, listen, you can file a police report. We would just try and they're like, if were you try to get don't go straight to her and contact her. Come in contact with us if you want like a escort or something to come back next time you can, but probably don't associate with her.
That'd be amazing. The cops actually set you up with hookers there. They get you your own escort. That's incredible.
Yes.
Canada is way more liberal than the US. That is the way you break up. Here's you break it. Here's a hooker. You go on your merry way. Yeah.
That would have been brilliant.
In with the do.
Yeah, it was a very interesting night, Eric. I'm glad I'm through that relationship. It ended really rocky. And then from that moment forward, I said, I'm never going to date a training partner ever again.
Yeah.
And Megan doesn't like it. Megan's sister says you were such a dog, and this is gonna sound bad. This is gonna sound really bad. I used to teach jujitsu.
Yeah.
And and Eric, this is something that happens a lot too.
Yeah.
When I would teach jiu-jitsu, a lot of the females that would come in would come to learn, but they'd also come to like make advances towards me. So,
well, no, you're in a position of power as a true alpha male, and you're teaching them to defend themselves, which is the most altruistic thing you can do, is to empower another person to take care of themselves. So there's an inherent bond there of like, wait, this person is teaching me to be strong. And then most of them are there because they've felt every male probably made them feel that they were, or tried to make them feel weaker. So there's automatically like an aphrodisiac there. It's like, remember Spanish fly? They used to tell you Spanish fly. That's the real Spanish fly. Plus they get to watch. There's nothing sexier for a female than watching a guy do something incredible. So, right. So when they start doing something and they aren't good at it, and they see you doing it, and to them, you're a god doing it. Like you're the sensei, you know what I mean? And they're watching you do it with effortless. It makes you so attractive. Plus you're a coxman without that. If you were to go out and dedicate your life to being a scumbag, you would be the best scumbag. I mean, women would just flock to you. You know what I mean? Like you're a good looking dude. I never had that looks. I just had a bunch of mouth and a bunch of game, and still it was tough, you know, to go out in public. I'd have to beat him. I get no, I mean, not like that, but you know what I mean? Like when you have things going on.
Megan says I'm guilty of, you have too much charm and you're too nice and you don't know boundaries. And she said that's why all these, her word is these bitches. She said that's why all these bitches would come around. And that's why these hoes would come around. And that's why.
That's a girl who listens to rap music. That's a good girl right there. She's straight out of the 80s, 90s rap genre. Like,
it was difficult. It was difficult.
And she's right. Most girls are hoes and bitches. She's absolutely right. Yeah, that's true.
The amount of entanglements that came from female training partners was something that I want to like avoid going forward, because that isn't a goal I want to own my own academy. But this is something that I'm glad I noticed early that was an issue. So I've already set up the boundary. Basically, I went on a tangent, but I wanted to set up the boundary already that I'm never dating training partners again, because that's happened a couple times and it always ended bad. So
no, I mean, if you have to learn it that way, right? You have to actually experience it to realize the repercussions of it, and then learn that this is not always a good thing. And we had this talk on the podcast the other day. Women, you know, if you go out and you indiscriminately open yourself up, you're going to end up in some life-threatening situations. It's just going to happen. Like,
yeah.
most of the people in jail right now or dead have had some weird stuff, either with a boyfriend that's mad or a girl that's just caused shit. Like there's a lot of turmoil in miscommunications between the genders, between people that may or may not. Sometimes you're not even interested in all, and they still get psycho. And so it's not. It's nice when you can just sit in the house with your cat and your girl, or sit in my house and just stay out of that. I mean, that's the best way to stay stay on the straight and narrow, is just to get yourself out of these situations. Because if you're there all the time, and by the way, the jiu-jitsu gym isn't that way usually. It can be, but usually for the most part, people come in and understand that it's about respect and learning.
I think because, and I credit that most of it was me running it as a college club, where I had my dedicated group of guys, where there were eight or nine of us who was the dedicated group. And then there would be like these floaters who'd come in every now and again. And then there'd be these girls come in, and some of them would stay. And me and my buddy, Eric, he's been my training partner since day one. I mean, since I started training. And me and him kind of would sit there and be like, yeah, she's probably going to try to stick around and get to try to hang out with some of us outside of practice. So you can
stop.
I think it was just the setting of being in college and all that. But no, because I mean, like I've been to academies and that hasn't been the case. But then again, I say that, and I got in this relationship with that girl through an academy, and I had another girl that I was trying to get. I've had a lot of unnecessary drama through training, unfortunately.
Is still the fact that you made it to where you are. You've got a beautiful girlfriend. I met. She's sweet as can be. She was so nice. I didn't get to spend much time with her, but
I was about to say, you got to see her sober actually at my last fight. So that's good.
Oh, sweet, so sweet. And by the way, the fight before, she wasn't unsweet. She was exuberant. She was
just spicy.
It's nice to see somebody who has different side. The worst thing in the world for me is somebody who's boring. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if somebody's just boring, there's nothing worse I could say about a person than fucking boring. I like somebody who's got some different dynamics. Somebody you can learn from. How are you going to learn from somebody that's boring? You can't. So let's talk about these fights. By the way, we have I think the best card since you and I have been doing this weekend.
A mile, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. This is, I've been kind of racking my brain on this a little bit. Where do you want to start with this? I mean, there's so much activity. There's so many activities going on here. You want to start with the headliner, or do you want to start? Let's start with the undercard.
Yeah, I was about to say, anything stick out to you on the undercard? Because there's one fight I'm looking at on the undercard that I'm like, that one's juicy.
The main, you're talking about before you get to the main card.
Yeah,
right?
The prelims.
Shit. I've been so focused on the main card. I like Sterling. That's a main card fight though. I like Sterling to win that fight.
I like that fight too.
There's one card. There's one fight with an underdog that I'm again. I like O'Malley to beat Jan. I'm alone in that, but I think that length is going to be a problem for Jan.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been. If there's one unsure fight I'm gonna pick tonight, it would be if I said Peter over O'Malley, because something in me thinks that O'Malley's gonna be able to, if he finds that range, because Peter, and here's the issue. Here's the big thing. Peter does that shit where, he's downloading. He takes like a round or two to find out his rhythm. You don't got 5 rounds. You got 3 rounds. And O'Malley comes out and throws volume. Once he finds his range, he's not going to let you set up and do that. I think it's a bad match for Peter, just because, like you said, the length is going to be an issue. And I think the way Peter fights, his stylistically, it's not a good matchup. Peter doesn't look good when he comes forward like he did against Aljamain. When he started walking forward like a zombie swinging, that's when Aljamain was able to beat him last fight. Aljamain had the takedown threat, though, of course. But if you watch all of O'Malley's fights, That guy is so good at stepping back, stepping off, and sending those shots right up the middle. I mean, I think O'Malley can pull it off. I like that pick, and I'm with you on the O'Malley.
I watched Sterling whip Peter Yan, and I know some people thought that fight went the other way because Yan won the late rounds. But Sterling did win that fight if you actually look at it properly. Yes. I mean, unless you're weighting the later rounds heavier, Sterling won that fight. But you're right, Yan doesn't start strong. This is a 3-rounder, completely different strategy. And I think that even if it hits the ground, I think he's going to have some problems with O'Malley. O'Malley's takedown defense is phenomenal.
That guy doesn't get taken down.
He is phenomenal. I mean, I've watched him train with takedown defense. It's uncanny, by the way. Uncanny is the word I'm fucking trying to say. How good he is at feeling people moving and reacting instantly. It's like a big giant cat. Big red-haired.
He's a lot of body to wrap up. He's a lot of body to wrap up too, which is another thing. Yeah. When you can move right and you're hard to wrap up, it goes back to that thing with Izzy that I always talk about. How when Rob tried to take him down, Izzy just was too freaking big, and I think that's what the issue with O'Malley is at that weight class. If guys try to wrap him up like that, is that he's just going to be able to put that hand on his head, get them hips away, and keep the fight where he wants it.
That shit talking is pretty good though. When Yan said he looked like a street hooker, that was pretty fucking good.
Hey, he left O'Malley was speechless. He's like,
John, do you have anything to say? And he's like, no, that was pretty good actually. pretty much do look like a street hooker. Fine, point Yan. I mean, it was pretty good. I like that. It was so good. So let's go to the undercard then. Who do you see that's juicy on the undercard? Because I
really like that Sean Brady line. Sean Brady, last I looked, he wasn't that big of a favorite.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with this.
He's an underdog. Oh well. No, wait a second. No, he's a barely favorite. You're right. But yeah. You're right.
Was like minus 150 last I saw. Not even
like minus 110 right now. It's it's real close. Yeah.
I like that fight because Bilal, I don't think has ever finished anyone in his career. And if he has, it was before UFC. He's got a lot of fights. Bilal's path to victory is always the grappling. He's gonna wet blanket you, and he's gonna just do enough to where the fight doesn't get set up, and where he can keep on doing damage, do enough to get the win. He does enough. He does just enough to get a win. Brady is out of that New Jersey, with those New Jersey wrestlers up north. The guy's got excellent jiu-jitsu. He goes and does he grappled Craig Jones. Granted, they had no leg locks. He beat Craig Jones in a grappling match. And Craig Jones' game is all leg locks, but still, you're going against a world-class grappler.
World class, yeah.
I think Brady's got 3 tools where he can beat Bilal. Brady can outstrike him, 100%. I think Brady can out-wrestle him, too. I think Brady's wrestling is really good. And I think if it came down to it, I think Brady might be able to sweep him and possibly submit him if Bilal does take him down. I don't see Bilal with a clear path to victory. His one path to victory is always the wrestling, and I see him having a nightmare time trying to get the fight there. And I think it's Brady's fight to win easily.
I agree. I mean, I could not say it more. You and I have seen this though before. We've seen some major where somebody has an advantage across the board, and all of a sudden the first punch it's the other way around. But that's what the beauty of this sport is. Shit can happen. And but yes, that's a huge I like that. Who else you got?
I like Aljamain too, like you said. I really like Aljamain.
Sterling's a monster, man. I mean, he really is. I mean, he's a bad motherfucker. I mean, fighting Jan's he fought Jan in the pocket in Jan's style. He did not style that fight. He did a little bit in the beginning, but he wasn't changing things up with great height and great length. And it was a fight that Jan could easily go into and work his magic, and he did in the later rounds. and yet Sterling still managed to dominate the early rounds. The thing with Jan is his conditioning is incredible. Like, it's incredible. But yes, Sterling against Dillashaw is I like the shit talking in that one too. That's a good shit talking. Those two clearly like to mix it up verbally, and it makes it so much more interesting. But I think Funkmaster takes it.
Me too. I think I don't. TJ's got that high school, college wrestling background. I mean, he was in college wrestling. Aljamain is just excellent college wrestler. Just he's probably got the best jiu-jitsu in that division. I mean, look what they call that guy the backpack for a reason. I mean, he gets on you and he's gonna ride you with ground and pound or choke you out. And Aljamain's had one hiccup. I'm not even gonna count the first Peter Yan fight where he got illegally kneed. Aljamain's had one hiccup in his entire career, and that was when he got stopped. I can't even remember by who, but other than that, he's been pretty flawless out there.
He's consistent. He's a pro. When he shows up, he's not great one day and shitty the next. You know, he's a consistently very good to great fighter every single time he steps in that octagon. He's a pro. He's ready to go. Weight's never an issue. You know, you're never hearing about him maybe not making weight, which brings us to Charles O'Leary.
Right.
Charles had a tough weight cut for this one. Could be a factor.
It was looking like he did some of those pictures and stuff. I think that's coming with age because, you look at he used to fight at 45.
Yeah.
45 is so tough for him to make, but 55 is going to be tough for him to make. I think he's just – look at how many fights the guy has, how many weight cuts he's had to do. I don't know what he walks around at, but he's a pretty solid lightweight. I think the weight cuts are just starting to catch up to him. And realistically, though, I can't see him being competitive at 170 because he's in that little null zone.
He knows it too. He knows it. That's why he keeps torturing himself to not go there. He knows it.
Because I mean, look at a guy like Sean Brady or someone, Hamzat. You know, like these giants at 170. He wouldn't be able to stand up with these guys.
That's not really at 170. He's really 177 and a half. But whatever. You know, I'm with you. Right. Dana's going to give him one more fight against Colby Covington at 170. He's going to give him a shot to make 170.
Yeah, I really want to see him. Paulo Costa against Rob Whittaker is a really good fight. I don't know how I feel about Paulo in that matchup, but I gotta go with Borrachinha. I don't think he'll win, but my heart wants me to go for Paulo. But sticking on this card,
on the Oliveira Islam. You and I may disagree on this a little bit because I agree Oliveira is better on his feet.
Yep.
I think Oliveira is better with jiu-jitsu. I think Oliveira may have top 3 or 4 jiu-jitsu in all of UFC. Like his jiu-jitsu is incredible. Like it's fucking ridiculous. It's so clean. For some reason, I feel like this is a weight class issue. I feel like Islam's just a weight class or two bigger when they step in the ring. He's a bigger man.
Back, you can see it in his back, really. Tomorrow during that fight, watch when the camera gets a rear view of Islam. Islam's back is like he's got that turtle shell action. He's huge man at that weight class. And I think when they get in, he doesn't have problems skinning up, which means he's all muscle. It's easier to melt it off, and then he just balloons back up. When he steps in the ring, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's 171, 172 at all. Easily, yeah. He might be pushing. He might have put on 20 pounds easy. He'd probably be back up to 75.
Muslims do that too because they're so used to Ramadan starving themselves. They'll get skinny. Like there's something genetic, I mean, almost religiously genetic, where they starve themselves and fast, and then when they start eating again, it's completely natural to make them actually. There's like a religious strength with the fasting part there, where the weight cuts don't mentally fuck with them like they do people that aren't brought up fasting. You know, when you're not brought up fasting, it's a big deal to cut food out for a full day or 2 days or whatever it is. They do it for a month.
You've got him who's been doing it almost his whole life for a month at a time, you know.
Yeah,
So
it's serious. Like for him, it's just like, yeah, I'm cutting weight. It's like Ramadan. Fuck it. And when he and that face off was great. I mean, the two of them nose to nose,
dialed it. Yeah.
eye to eye, nose to nose. It was an intense face off. There was it. You know what was cool about that face off is it never seemed, and they were literally touching noses. It never for a second seemed like there was a chance for violence during the face off. It's just two ninja warriors with absolute respect. You
Yeah,
know,
they know their time's tomorrow. So
yeah, there was no, sometimes people come in and they kind of want to blow the time, and let me try to get a psychological edge. They both seem to be on the same page as far as mentally. I mean, this is a hella main event. Like it's a fucking real one. Like it's going to be fun, man. I mean, you like Oliveira to win, right?
correct. I still am sticking with Oliveira.
I
And
I have Islam winning. He's an underdog. He's an underdog, but I have him winning because I think the size difference is going to be an issue.
if the fight goes late, I think if Charles can't get him out in there in the third, I do think he starts getting drowned. I do think we'll see Charles slowing down aggressively just because.
Well, that's the thing. I don't see it being a knockout. That's why I see it going late. Like I think size is going to play a big issue here. I think it's going late, but Oliveira's fucking jiu-jitsu is so good. It's very difficult for me to make this pick. Very difficult for me to
There's two fights I look at, and you're only as good as your last fight. And I know it's been a really long time since Oliveira fought Felder, but if you look at Paul Felder fought Charles tired out at one point, and Paul was just draped over him, and Charles literally was falling on his back because he was just praying like for this guy to come on top of him and try to throw up submissions. And then when Paul would get on him, he couldn't kick up anything because after a while, it's so hard to do your jiu-jitsu when you're dead tired. If your go-tos don't work, it's really hard to start executing other stuff and like take your time on the back. And so that worries me because just going back to that Felder fight, but Charles hasn't really put himself in a position. But then I look at when Islam fought Thiago Moises, and some of those leg lock initiations, Islam kind of looked like a fish out of water, but Islam still ended up winning and choking him out. I mean, he got out of him, but
if Charles was watching that film, and he was,
and that's what I was going to get to. I really think that Charles goes out there and wins the front kick, starts spamming the front kick, because I don't think we're going to see him throw round kicks. The round kick's going to be really susceptible to get him taken down.
Yeah,
I think he spam his front kick.
What's funny is every fight Oliveira's been begging for people to take him down. This is like the first time where he's actually going to avoid it, which is
right. This is the one where the guy's going to come out there and take him down.
Yeah,
we know it's going to happen. The fight's going to the floor. I do think Charles keeps it on the feet for a round, though. If he can utilize his front kick, I don't think he's going to be jabbing a lot. I think he's going to look to just throw his cross, with Islam being the southpaw fighter.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be throwing right side heavy. A lot of that rear front kick, a lot of that right cross. But Charles is going to have to catch him early. We've seen Islam get stopped once by a big right hand, but Charles throws everything nice and tight down the pipe. It's hard. It's hard because it's such an interesting matchup that wherever the fight goes, it's almost a coin toss. I mean, we haven't really got to see Islam on the feet because he never really lets the hands go.
No.
I mean, Charles is so clear there.
I feel like when I'm making this pick, it's very weird for me because I think Charles has the advantage striking and in jiu-jitsu. And for some reason, I just think Islam's going to control this fight. I don't know how. I mean, it could just be. I mean, for me, it's just size and aggression. But I don't know why Charles doesn't. I don't know why I don't have more respect for him because I certainly do. You know what I mean? He's fucking amazing. I just, for some reason, just see this fight going Islam's way. I don't think it's going to be an early stoppage. I think it's going to be I actually don't think it's going to go to submission at all. I think it's going to be a 5-round war. I think it's going to be a classic fight. If somebody submits the other and knocks the other out, it's going to be round 4 or 5. It's not going to be. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be one of the better main events because this is a very strange matchup. It's Smash versus the most technical jiu-jitsu guy. What is he finished 10 of the last 11 people, Oliveira?
Only guy he hasn't finished is Tony Ferguson. Everyone else is ranked.
Yeah, and Tony Ferguson, legend, again, Hall of Famer.
He almost broke Tony's arm in that fight. I mean, that arm bar he had under the armpit and cranking, I mean, I thought that thing was going to snap.
It's amazing. He's so good at jiu-jitsu too that even that tired part where the jiu-jitsu doesn't work late, he's so relaxed in his jiu-jitsu. Like you see a lot of people in their early career in jiu-jitsu, they go and stress out a lot and try a lot of stuff. They tear themselves out, man. The real OGs, they're just so relaxed with everything. Everything flows, and they don't use. The whole key is not using energy. Like the entire game is technique and not using energy. And for the real people that have been doing it for a long time, you watch them learn to use less and less energy for a more extended period of time so that their jiu-jitsu can be sharp in that round 5. And Oliveira is clearly at that. He's at that OG level. So it's going to be fun. What any other fights that you have that you think are going to be fun? You don't necessarily have to make a pick, but
I think we see something that is a little rare. We're going to the one female fight on the main card. Right. Is that Theoren girl?
Rosa versus Landsberg? No, that's not.
Caitlin Chikagan versus
okay.
Versus how do you say her last name? Fionta?
Dude, I can barely pronounce my own last name. But yeah, I mean, it's tough enough to do that. So Fiont, let me see if I can find this fight on here. I don't know either of these fighters. What do you? It is a Fiorot. Yeah, and she's got a nice mohawk too. I mean, she looks like she's gonna need herself a nice vegan man that plants tomatoes. To me, I mean, she literally looks like she could go bull dyke or straight tomato picker. Either way, it's gonna work out. But yeah, she looks mean in her picture. Have you seen it?
I think she tunes up Chikagan, and Chikagan's Caitlin Chikagan's a super, super good fighter. Don't get me wrong, but she's another girl that does just enough to win. She goes out there. She takes no damage, which is good. She's only taking damage in the. She didn't fight Valentina, did she? I think she did. She got whoever fought her and kicked her in the belly and finished her. We're moving on. She's been finished once, but she only does enough to win. She doesn't take a lot of damage. I think this girl, she's a very, very good striker, and I think it's gonna be put on tomorrow. And I think she can stop Caitlin. So, but I think that's gonna be a fight to watch. Just because I think Caitlin's style is a bad matchup for her.
I've never seen either of them fight. I'm excited to watch that. I mean, I probably have, but for some reason, I mean, it's probably pure chauvinism, but I love women's MMA. I do, but they don't stick unless it's like a Valentina or a Nunes or whatever. It just doesn't stand. I forget until I see him and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. Of course, I'm like that in real life too.
You'll like the striking that's going to happen in that fight. Caitlin's really good striker. She's also really good black belt jiu-jitsu under John Danaher, but she never uses it. She just likes to fight at a distance and point fight, really. But I think this girl's going to suck her into the pocket and probably clip her a couple times and put her in trouble.
Have you seen? I'm sorry to interrupt. I apologize. Go ahead. I got excited to pronounce a name. Armen Petrosian.
Petrosian, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Superman? What do you think of that guy fighting?
I think Petrosian wins this fight. I was gonna that was gonna be if I could go top to bottom with who I think is gonna win.
Let's summarize what you like best to worst, and give me 3 that you like top to bottom, strongest play to weakest play, and I'll do the same because
Top to bottom, strongest plays. I think Aljamain over TJ is automatic. I think.
over Dillashaw. Yep.
Yep. I think the fight that I just mentioned with Chikagan, for the Fiorot girl. God, I can't say her last name. Her first name is like Amanda, right?
Petrosian over Dupsaran. Yeah. Well, yes, it is Amanda.
And then
sorry.
Brady over Bilal.
I'm sorry, you're talking about Fiorot over Chuksupan.
Chikagan.
Manan Fiorot over Chikagan. You say it much better than I do. Clearly, the time in Canada helped you enunciate really well. So you like Sterling? I do too. You like Fiorot? I haven't seen him, but I'm going to take your word for that. And number 3,
Brady over Bilal.
Yeah, Brady's your. Yep, I like all 3 of those. Well, I haven't watched Fiorot, but I like Brady. I like Sterling a lot. I think those are great picks. For me, my big underdog pick is O'Malley, and I have complete respect for Peter Yan. I just think it's a weird height. I mean, you're talking about probably a 5-6 inch difference.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a big difference. And Yan is a slow starter. It's a 3-rounder. I just don't understand the line on that one. It could be ugly. I could be wrong. But I think a lot of people just look at this as a big step up for O'Malley. And I look at it as O'Malley is fairly underrated because he puts on the clown hat and stuff. People don't realize how talented of a fighter he really is. So I think he's going to step up to the challenge. Be ready. He's going to bring his best A game, and the kid's the real deal.
Do you remember the fight against that Chris Motino guy, the green hair guy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I think this fight's similar to that. Obviously Peter's a lot better of a striker than Chris, but I think the flow of the fight will be the same. Peter's going to try to come forward to get frustrated, and Sean's just going to be able to step off the line, back up, and crack. I think that's how the fight will go a lot. I think Peter's going to be coming to Sean a lot, and Sean's going to keep him at distance.
I think Sean's probably studied a lot of Izzy for this fight, and he's probably realized when you have that height and length, how to control a fight at distance. And it's not going to be an ego fight for him. It's going to be how do I take this significantly smaller fighter and take away any of their advantages, and really space is his best bet. And I've seen his takedown defense. It's as good as any in the sport. I don't think that Peter's going to be able to easily get in there. He could. I mean, believe me, he's talented, but I think it's going to be a challenge. And if he can keep him at distance, keep it on the feet, and even if it hits the ground, you and I both know when you grapple with these long people, it's different. It's just bizarre. They get weird angles if they're flexible and stuff that you can't even prepare for. Like, you're like, how the fuck is he getting his heel over my shoulder? Like, how the hell did that happen? It's just bizarre. And again, some of the smaller people have, that are thick have advantages too, but I just don't think that fight works out well for Peter. I think it's should be reversed, as far as who's favorite and who isn't. Both
the line should be a lot closer. A lot
closer. So it's more of an upset pick. The line's wrong, but Jan could easily just come out and destroy him, because he's Peter Yan. He's a beast. So that's it, man. Let's reconvene there. And it's back to the original. There's always problem with pussy with your kitty cat that started this entire thing. I think the lesson is for everybody out there is watch out for those puss. It'll ruin your life if you don't button it up. But that's it, man. I love you. Thank you. That was good. I had a good time. I feel cleansed talking about a little bit of MMA with you.
You too, brother. I appreciate it, man. I hope the house is getting fixed back up well.
It is. It's everything's ready. They're basically going to gut the whole place. Like we had an adjuster come in who looked at it. He's seen it all before. He was telling war stories with other stuff. He actually said a tip. He goes, he's been in 5 or 6 houses whose houses were flooded by cats. by cat because they had a sink with a swiveling head.
Yep.
So the sink, with a counter, the head swiveled, and then there's a nozzle the cat could mess with. So as soon as it swiveled and the cat hits the thing, then the water scares the cat off. And now the whole house just floods while the owner's gone, and it never stops. So he recommended taking a rubber band and if you do have a swiveling head that will 180,
right.
Use a rubber band to tie it, because otherwise your cat might just start playing with it. And as soon as the water comes on, it's going to run. It's not going to fix its error. Be like, I gotta make this right. But he goes, yeah, I've had a couple of these this month. Cats keep playing with things that they shouldn't. So there's my tip of the day. Hopefully that makes you a safer household.
I like the tip.
All right, brother. I love you. Send my best to your girl, and we'll do this again next week. But for the meantime, I'll talk to you during the fights tomorrow.
I will talk to you tomorrow, man. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.